Welcome to Better Together with your hosts, Emily Italia and Jennifer Morrow. When we all work together, we are stronger and can accomplish more for the kingdom of God. And now, here are the hosts of Better Together, Emily Italia and Jennifer Morrow.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Better Together. I'm saying welcome back because we kind of took the summer off.
Right.
Like the intro said, I'm Jen Morrow.
I'm Emily Italia, and it's great to be back finally in the fall. And we did have that one fun little summer interlude, but for the most part, we've been off. But yeah, it's been a great break, and now we're ready to dive right back in.
And we're kind of like hitting the ground running too. A lot of people always say, summer's kind of slower, when it comes to the church. And it is because there's no, school and the Easter and Christmas, but it really doesn't slow down. Like, I don't feel like I got a lot of rest. Do you?
No, because that's the time when we have a lot of other projects come in, like, special anniversary edition or graduation, those things. And then we have all the summer events that happen at the parishes. So really, it doesn't stop completely, not for those of us who are covering everything.
I agree. And then, we always do, especially when you're in Catholic press, or any press, back to school. But this year we had the excitement of back to school pretty much coinciding with the canonization of our new saints, our new young saints.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. But you guys in the Diocese of Trenton kind of really had a special celebration, yeah?
Right. So we actually held the publication of our September issue so that we could include the coverage of the canonization both in Rome and at St. Dominic's in Brick, which is, as you know, has the shrine of Saint Carlo Acutis. And I saw pictures of it. So they have this beautiful commemorative wall that tells the life story of Carlo Acutis, in addition to the shrine that was already there with his relic. And so there was a very special celebration for the whole diocesan community, really, hosted by that parish. And Bishop O'Connell was able to celebrate the Mass there, I believe. So, yeah, just amazing event.
Yeah.
And how was it marked in Diocese of Camden?
Well, we definitely had some of our local parishes kind of get their youth ministries together to hold, of course, Mass, and then also like celebrations around that, so they could celebrate as a youth ministry community, or some parishes did that.
Yes.
It was pretty neat. We had a couple of priests from the Diocese of Camden were able to go to Rome and concelebrate basically the Mass, and then we also had some young people that were there to witness it. So, in the latest issue of the Catholic Star Herald, we do have some of their reflections about their experience. So that was pretty cool. For them, it was funny. Two of the young people, or at least one of them, had already planned to go to Rome in the summer when the canonization was originally scheduled for. So he went there for the Jubilee of Youth, or young people, and then ended up going back, a month later because he wanted to go to the canonization.
Wow.
So we have, a call
That's
from
dedication.
him in the summer and then here now. So, it's a pretty exciting time. I think it's fantastic that it coincided with back to school or a new school year.
Yeah. To open on that note for students, and the young people of both our diocese of all of New Jersey, really. I think it's just a great way to orient the school year and to really infuse that enthusiasm for the faith in a way that, this new millennial saint, St. Carlo, has just a special connection, I think, with them, being a saint of technology and using that medium to spread the gospel. And then St. Pier Giorgio Frassati, I was learning more about him just reading some different things that we covered in the Monitor. One was I had an interview with Father Jason Parzinski over at St. David the King in West Windsor.
Okay.
And he actually has a relic of St. Pier Giorgio. So definitely try to check that out and see. The relic is installed in their St. Frassati Hall, I believe it's called, the Frassati Youth Hall. So it is there for the public to go and venerate and experience. But he just had a very unique story about how he came across that. And I don't want to spoil it for readers. So check out the Monitor when it comes out next week.
Well, I saw your cover because I get the newsletter, and the cover looks beautiful. So I can't wait to get it. But we also have an exciting. I'm I have a foot in each diocese. How's that? I have my own deadlines, okay? But
when you're in Catholic media, it's all we. You know,
It
we're
really
all
is.
kind of doing
Actually,
same thing.
it really is because we're all going to basically see each other in a couple of weeks at
Right.
the Mass for Life in Trenton, which is statewide.
Exactly. So we're going to see, a lot of you listeners out there. I hope you're going to come. It was September 25th, I believe.
A Thursday, right?
Thursday morning. We'll start with Mass and then walk over to the State House and have lots of great Catholic and pro-life representatives there. The first one was last year, so this is the second annual, and I'm loving that they're making it an annual event.
Exactly, and all the bishops from the state of New Jersey are planned to be there, and I
think
believe
so.
that Cardinal Tobin out of Archdiocese of Newark will be the main celebrant, and Bishop from Patterson should be the homilist, if I've got
Believe
this
so.
right. So everybody, yes, please. It's at the cathedral in Trenton's Cathedral, and yeah, it should be a beautiful event. And spoiler alert: if you also listen to Talking Catholic from the Diocese of Camden, we're going to have the organizers on, including Rachel Hendricks, who was on Better
fantastic.
Together last year.
Yes.
And she's always a delight, so you can learn more about the Mass for Life. But anyway.
Yeah,
all
get
right,
back to your segue.
I didn't say that just to give myself a shout out. I just want to go on the record to say that. But yeah, the whole point was your magazine this month features our guest today.
Yes.
And so why don't we talk about who we got with us?
Absolutely. It's our pleasure to welcome Alicia Brozovic, who is a cantor in St. Mary Byzantine Catholic Church in Trenton and a Roman Catholic from birth, and just is here to talk with us a little bit, along with our guest on the phone, Father Yuri Oros, about the Byzantine Catholic tradition and a workshop that she and Father Yuri have been organizing that's coming up in October that we want all of you to know about. So we want to do a little dive into the background of Byzantine Catholic tradition. And for those of you who haven't heard of that, I'm in the same boat. I had absolutely no idea that the Byzantine rite existed, or that it was Catholic, or that it was in line with Rome. All of these things are just kind of blowing my mind. So I'm really excited to have our conversation today. So welcome, Alicia. Really happy to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're excited. So tell us, before we, go into the deep dive, let's, let people know what is happening next month.
Sure. So next month, we are hosting a workshop at St. Mary of the Assumption Byzantine Catholic Church in Trenton, not to be confused with St. Mary of the Assumption Cathedral.
A lot of St. Mary's.
There's a lot of, we like Mary and her Assumption. So on October 11th, we are hosting a workshop. It's geared more towards Roman Catholics, but also Eastern Catholics looking to dive more into their faith. Sure. And it was born out of a homily that Father Yuri actually gave last year when I started cantering for him more regularly at St. Nicholas in Roebling. And he does once a year an invite your Roman Catholic friends to liturgy. And he talks about the similarities and differences in Eastern Catholicism and Western Catholicism, which, again, mind-blowing for all of us who grew up Roman Catholic. And, Roman Catholic means the one church. And really, Catholic is the one church. And so during the workshop, we're going to talk about the history of Eastern Catholic churches. And we are going to talk about iconography and the architecture of Eastern Catholic churches. And then after breaking some bread over lunch together, we do include lunch for all of your listeners who wish to register. Food is very important. Jesus often broke bread with people. And in the afternoon, we're going to talk about the liturgy itself, because it is different than Mass. I think the best way to describe it as a Roman Catholic is if you mushed Mass and like Liturgy of the Hours together.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So if you think about it that way, it makes more sense.
So a lot of going back and forth between spoken and sung prayer, or is it all sung?
It's actually all sung.
Okay.
The only part of the liturgy that is not sung is the homily, although I think we should encourage Father Yuri to sing his homilies. So there's a lot of pressure on the priests to really be able to sing the liturgy. And it is all a cappella. There's no instruments. And so it's a singing tradition, which many choristers, and Emily, you're one of them, would be very interested in that tradition. But so we'll go over the liturgy, and then we're actually going to sing through parts of the liturgy before we have confession and liturgy together, so that people feel really comfortable worshiping together and really get the full experience, and hopefully feel comfortable to come back.
Right.
So this is a breathing with both lungs sort of event. And for anybody who's curious or mind is blown and thinks, isn't that Orthodox? It's not.
Right.
It is Catholic. There's a whole history there we can talk about later but with Father Yuri on the
Yes.
phone. But it is Catholic. We have 24 sui juris churches in the Catholic Church that are in union with Rome. And that just, for me in college, when I learned that there were other churches besides the Roman Catholic Church, I was a little scandalized because I thought there was only one. That's
Right.
what we're taught. But I think we kind of have had this tradition, a small t tradition, of confusing one with Roman.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that's fair. And I think if you didn't grow up, well, for example, I grew up on the West Coast. And so even finding Catholic churches can be challenging in certain areas, very like in the rural areas where I was. And so I had never even encountered another church, let alone one that was Catholic but not the Roman rite. And never had the understanding or the teaching explained to me. So, and literally only found out this year that exists. And
While we were playing cards, right?
Yes, yes,
We were
literally
playing
just
cards
like,
together.
really? What? But just recognizing that, there's this whole aspect of our beautiful Catholic tradition that's worth exploring and understanding and appreciating. Because when we're able to delve into and understand our history, that helps bring us to better union in our celebration with our fellow Catholics.
Yeah. So, everybody, if you want to go, it is October 11th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it's titled "Come and See: A Journey into Eastern Catholicism." And
And what's the
At the church in
address
Trenton.
for that, Alicia?
The address is technically 411 Adeline Street,
Okay.
but it's the church with the blue domes on the corner of Grand and Malone, and there is a parking lot. So
Okay.
I know people have a lot of questions about parking in Trenton, and there is a lot.
That's fair. Okay, good to know. And we'll circle back to that at the end
Sure.
of the
Yep.
program too,
Sure.
so people catch it again.
okay, so everybody, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have Father Yuri with us as well. And see you in a second.
It started like it does for many people, question my faith and question authority. And I feel that the reason why I left was the draw of the world. The world was pulling me away. Some people would say, Satan was working on me. He did not want me in church. He wanted me to be desperate. He wanted me to have the thoughts of suicide. I started to realize that a lot of the things that I experienced in my life were a result of my rebellion against God and against authority. Coming back to the church is the first step in healing from all of the hurts of the world. I went from being desperate and in despair to finding hope and encouragement for the future. I'm on God's team. I know who I belong to, and I know where I'm going, and there's nothing that can separate me from God's love.
Take another look at the Catholic Church. Visit CatholicsComeHome.org today.
Father Benedict Groeschel.
I must tell you that from what I observe from very young people, all of these blasphemers, all of these mockers are in for a tough time. Because the devil bites his own tail. And I find among young people a growing reverence and longing for God. I find a decline in the cynicism and skepticism around it because it had to destroy itself. No one can live on being an enemy of God. It's too crazy. It's too absurd. It's too dark. It's too bleak. God is beautiful. God is holy. Why in the world mock God?
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Welcome back, everybody, to Better Together. I'm Emily Talia, along with my co-host, Jennifer Morrow. And in studio with us today, we have Alicia Brozovic, who's a cantor at St. Mary Byzantine Catholic Church in Trenton. And joining us on the phone is the pastor of both St. Mary and St. Nicholas Byzantine Catholic Church in Roebling, and this is Father Yuri Oros. Welcome to our show, Father Yuri. It's great to have you.
Thank you. I'm good to be with you today.
Oh, thank you. This is wonderful. So we're excited to talk to our listeners about not only the workshop that's coming up, but what's going to be discussed during the workshop on the Byzantine Catholic tradition and how we Roman Catholics can learn a little bit more about the traditions that are from the Eastern side of Catholic worship that we may not be as familiar with. So we're really grateful that you're going to come on and talk with us about that. Just to start, what would you say is some of the most obvious difference between the Byzantine rite and that of the Roman or the Latin rite?
Well, the first of all is liturgy itself.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at our Byzantine rite in our churches, we have so-called icon screen, and priests in Byzantine rite doesn't face people like in Roman rite. It faces the east, from where Christ and light is come from. So then the chanting, how we sing our liturgy is basically we sing the whole liturgy, people and priests. Just the way as I said before, the way we celebrate the liturgy is different. And as you may know, there are many different rites in Catholic Church that celebrate their Mass or liturgy, how we call it in Byzantine rite. It's very different from Roman rite.
And I heard the term Ruthenian Catholic. And can you give us a distinction between, is that the same as Byzantine, or is that a distinction of the ethnic background of the people who celebrate in the Ruthenian tradition?
Exactly. Yes. Ruthenian means basically people who came from Ruthenian region, which was in west part of Ukraine, Transcarpathia region, some from Slovakia and Hungary.
Okay.
It's why this tradition called Ruthenian.
Okay, and you yourself are actually from Ukraine along with your family, correct?
Correct, and I'm coming from that same area, Transcarpathia region, where people identify themselves as Ruthenian.
Okay, interesting.
And
Yes.
Father, this is Jen Morrow. So nice to meet you. And
Nice to meet you.
you've been here since about 2017. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
So,
Yes, we moved with my family because that's another difference that in our Byzantine tradition, priests can be married. So I married Byzantine Catholic priest, and we moved in 2017 from Ukraine with my family.
And I think I had read that similar to the diaconate in the Roman rite, priests can be married before they are ordained. But if you elect to be ordained first, then you're not permitted to marry after ordination. Is that right?
Yes. So actually, the candidate has to be married before he becomes a deacon.
Okay,
Before deacon ordination. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after, it's actually your choice what you decide. If you decide to become a priest, or not married, you got ordained as a deacon and then to the priesthood. But if you decide to be married, you have to get married before your diaconal ordination.
Okay.
cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, when we were also talking about some of the differences in the liturgy, is communion the same, or is that a little different as well?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you for reminding. Yes, it's different, a little bit different. We use the bread and wine, so we distribute communion with the spoon to each individual, giving them body and blood of Jesus Christ together.
Okay, so for the Roman Catholics, we're accustomed to receiving a host either on the tongue or in
Correct.
hand. But in the Byzantine rite, everyone receives the body and blood together. And there's a specific procedure for doing that respectfully, correct?
Yes, yes.
And Father,
mhm.
it's Alicia here. If you don't
Okay, Alicia.
Hi, don't worry.
Hello.
I didn't leave you all by yourself on the radio show. So we were talking about before you came on about how this event it is for Eastern Catholics who want to dive deeper into their faith, but it's really for Roman Catholics who've never experienced this before. And so some of the things that are obvious to Eastern Catholics, Emily and I were talking, she had no clue that there was even Eastern Catholicism until maybe a couple months ago. And so I was telling them about how this event was born out of one of your homilies that you give when we invite Roman Catholics to come to the Eastern Catholic liturgy. And you have this beautiful way of explaining the difference between the married and unmarried priests and the leavened and unleavened host for the Eucharist. And I think that the listeners would probably love to hear a little bit more about the Eucharist and why we use leavened bread and those sorts of things. And that's not something I'm equipped to talk about.
Why we use it?
Yeah, because that's something for a Roman Catholic, it's very startling to come up to communion and receive not a flat host. And I think there are many listeners who don't even know that it's not the same type of bread.
Right.
Oh.
hmm So in Byzantine tradition, as Alicia said, the Eucharist is celebrated with leavened bread. The theology behind that the leaven symbolizes the resurrection of Christ, the risen bread of life. And we know even in the Holy Scripture, St. Paul calls the church the new leaven. So leaven also points to the life of the Holy Spirit within the church. And practically, Byzantine Christians emphasizes that the Eucharist is not simply recalling the passion, but the whole paschal mystery, passion and resurrection. Meantime, in the Latin tradition, the church uses unleavened bread, and theology behind the points. This unleavened bread in Latin tradition points us to the Last Supper, which took place during the Jewish Passover, where unleavened bread was required. And
it's an interesting distinction.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear also some more about it's called the iconoclast, the icons that are present.
The iconostasis.
Iconostasis.
So do you want to explain a little bit about that, Father?
About icon screen?
Yes.
Yes. So in our Byzantine tradition, first of all, I need to mention architectural structure of Byzantine church, which is usually divided in three parts, so-called altar, which represents heaven, then the main part of the building where faithful are praying, and the back side of the church, which we usually call it, well, here we call it vestibule, but that part in early Christianity was dedicated to people who were not baptized, and they were waiting to get baptized, and that they couldn't attend the liturgy. And so icon screen divides heaven from earth. Icon screen is like a window into heaven. And we have, I don't know if you saw our icon screens, but usually we have four icons: Mary, Jesus, then parish feasts, and usually on the left side we have St. Nicholas icon. And then we have 12 major year feasts in icon screen, and sometimes they put 12 prophets and Jesus, the King of the universe, on the top. And as I said, iconography represents in our Byzantine tradition God who is divine, who is, you see, because we paint, it's the icon painted. It's like not realistic way, not human body. It's something divine that's inaccessible to us human being, but by venerating those icons, we can taste a little bit of divine divinity or divine grace.
What about the doors in the icon screen? It's my favorite part, Father.
Yeah, doors. We open. We have 4 doors in icon screen, and the main, we call it royal doors. They open only for liturgy or for other liturgical celebrations, and we have they're painted for evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And when liturgy, why we open it for liturgy? Because it symbolizes that now heaven is open for us, and we can receive from the heaven all grace, all support we need for our spiritual journey and for our earthly life.
That is beautiful.
It's
symbolism.
beautiful. Yeah. You know what it reminds me of is like, so like I have a young nephew, and when he was even younger, you go into the church, and especially for kids, they're looking at the stained glass windows, right? Because that's a way of telling the story. And what you're describing is even, to me, more so, because there's so many different things to look at and experience. Again, you know, and it doesn't have to be just for kids, but you know, your all of the senses are, it sounds like, involved here when you're in the church.
Exactly. Yes. I found, honestly myself, I find iconography very powerful because it helps you to focus. When you stay in front of it, it helps you to focus only on the divine, not of our emotions or physical world, you know. Yeah. It helps you to taste God's presence in a special way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so I know I can't come to the workshop because I'm going to be out of town, but now I really want to come to the church in general. So if I don't make the workshop, can I still come to the church and not feel too nervous that
you're very welcome anytime.
If I don't know what to do, will somebody help me?
Absolutely.
I'll look for you.
We'll plan a time where I'm cantering and you can be with me.
Because it just sounds so beautiful. I want to go. I really want to come. It's amazing.
So when Divine Liturgy takes place, I'm thinking back to the Latin Mass pre-Vatican II in the Roman Rite, where there would be missals with instructions, and you'd have the Latin on one side and the English on another. Is there something similar in the Divine Liturgy that will lead people, if you're not familiar with the Mass, like, you know, okay, what do I say or sing next?
Well, we have actually books, so you can follow the book.
Yeah, that's great.
It can be confusing because we sing. We begin the liturgy with singing the litany, so-called Litany of Peace, asking. We repeat many times. You can ask Alicia about that. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy. We pray for government, for good weather, for health and blessings to people, for everything. Mm-hmm. And then we sing psalms from Old Testament. Then we go to Liturgy of the Word, and we sing so-called, which was. Now, Alicia, you can confirm with Kontakion and Kontakions, it could be sometimes challenging, no?
Well, yes. Thankfully, I have my iPad, and so if I have to cheat and use my little piano, I pull it up on my iPad. But there are 8 tones. So it is for the listeners who are familiar with the Latin Mass. Just like there's modes in the Latin Mass, and they change from week to week or depending on the feast. The Byzantine Catholic Church, and that encompasses 14 different traditions, just to make it even more confusing for everybody. There are different tones, 8 different tones that are cycled through from week to week and depending on the feasts.
And when you say tones, are we talking like key signatures or?
Yeah, like melodies. Like there's
Okay.
this melodic tone that the text is set to. And part of why Father and I were laughing when you're asking about a resource is that one of the interesting things about just the political history of everything in the last 30 to 40 years and the fall of the Iron Curtain and all of the different things, one of my biggest challenges in coming into the Byzantine Catholic Church has been there's not really one codified resource the way there is, like there's not one translation necessarily that's being followed in the same way that you find in the Roman Catholic Church, right? So like in 2010, we all knew we were changing the translations. We know that something else is coming. It's a whole big thing. Some people, you can tell at a funeral who hasn't been to Mass in, 15 years because they still say, the Lord be with you and also with you.
Right.
But that's the thing with there are resources and the ecclesiastical language of the Byzantine Catholic Church is Old Slavonic, and you will find those resources like Father was saying where the Old Slavonic is next to the English. But that's part of the reason we thought this workshop would be great, is to sort of explain these things, because it can be overwhelming for people if they're trying to come in and learn. Jen, we don't want you coming in on a Sunday and be like, okay, I'm so lost, I didn't even get to pray.
No, I'll just sit in front of the icons, like Father said, and I'll say the one with the confused look. That'll be me, Father.
But the Kontakion that Father was talking about and the Troparion, these are different hymns that are sung, probably traditionally where we would have an Old Testament reading in the Roman Catholic Mass before the epistle.
Interesting. Okay. And the predominant language in the Divine Liturgy is English, or is it
It's
Latin?
English.
It is English. So
No, it is English, and sometimes we use Church Slavonic because we still have some old generations that they remember Church Slavonic and they enjoy singing it because this was the language of their ancestors.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, but we don't use it as often as they used to have it here in the United States. Meantime, in where I came from, we still use that language in our liturgical tradition when we celebrate liturgy.
No, one thing I don't know if we talked about, and if we did, I apologize. The Byzantine Rite is in full communion with the Pope, correct?
Correct.
So if we go to a mass in your church, would the readings be the same as like how they're like universal in the Roman?
No, because we have our own liturgical calendar. And actually, myself, I need to say that myself, I like how it's done in Roman Rite, because in Roman Rite they have year A, B, C.
Yeah.
right.
In our rite, we repeat our reading every year. We read the same gospel every year. We don't rotate them. So.
But then the
Yeah, and
seasons that we'd be familiar with, say, of Advent and Lent, would be similar, if not exactly the same. Am I right?
Lent and Advent would be not in terms of readings.
Right, but the liturgical season.
Yes. Yeah, in terms of season, yes, it would be same. We just call it differently. We have like Great Fast, or we have Philip Fast. We don't call it Advent, for example.
So the St. Philip's Fast or Nativity Fast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
there are many different churches, Eastern Catholic churches. I don't know if you know, there are 20, because the Catholic Church is made up of 24 churches, and the Latin or Roman Church is just one of them. And there are 23 Eastern Catholic churches in full communion with Rome.
So we've spent, a lot of time explaining how, the differences. But let's talk about some of the similarities and especially with the workshop. Do you think that this is a way for people to embrace the beauty and universality of the church, Father?
Oh, I'm more than sure about it. And, I will repeat this phrase you probably heard it a million times before, what St. John Paul II said, that the church must breathe with her two lungs, east and west. And if we only know the Roman tradition, we're only breathing with one lung. And actually, this workshop is a great opportunity for all of us to breathe with both. I believe so, because it's the beauty of the whole Catholic Church that we have so many traditions, so many rites, and to exploring them, we are getting just richer spiritually, which is very, very beautiful, and help us individually in our spiritual journey.
Yeah. I love that, the breathing with two lungs, and Alicia, you had said that as well. Now, I feel like, Alicia, you have embraced that because you were brought up in the in the Latin rite, Roman rite, and then
Yes.
Okay, so how did that come about for you personally, and how has that opened up and helped you grow in your faith?
I can't escape Father Yuri. I grew up in a small farm town in Kansas, and it was, you were Catholic or Methodist. That's just what you were. And so not even the Latin, like the High Latin Mass. This was completely Novus Ordo, on eagle's wings territory, and has its beautiful place there. And I went to my undergrad. We all know what I'm talking about. Here I am, Lord, was my mantra as a second grader, right? So that's great. But I've always related to the church through music, and that's been a path for me since I was a child. And I went to my undergrad at Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas, and there I majored in music and theology. And so my first encounter with anything Eastern was through the music. We were singing some Chesnikov, and I thought, this is gorgeous. I've never heard music like this, being from a dirt road in Kansas. And then there was actually a class on Byzantine traditions, and that was the first time I wasn't able to take the class, but the first time I encountered, wait, there's more than the Roman Church. I'm so scandalized. I thought there was only one. It was a whole big paradigm shift for me. And then when I studied abroad in Italy, the theology professor that was there with his family with us from Benedictine was actually Maronite. And so so it was a very slow path, and just asking questions and being curious. And then coming out here for my graduate degree at Westminster Choir College, again through the music. One of my colleagues, Eric Pedersen, if you remember him, Father Yuri, was cantoring at St. Mary's and knew I was interested and said, why don't you come experience the liturgy? And it was beautiful. And then the primary cantor at St. Mary's, Drew Skitgo, was putting together an octet of professional singers to sing professional, robust liturgical music for here in Trenton and in New York. And then, so again, through the music, I became more entrenched. And the more I learned, the more curious I became. And Father Ed Simbala, who will be the celebrant at the workshop, when he knew I was interested in Eastern Catholicism, mailed me a box of stuff. He said, here, read this, look at this. And then Father Yuri has slowly been roping me in to be a cantor for him. And so I've been hooked in, hook, line, and sinker. And it really has enriched my spiritual journey to have this awareness of these different traditions. The East really focuses on this idea of mystery. And in the West, we really want to know the explanation for everything. And for my scrupulous little soul, it's very good sometimes to just let it be a mystery and trust in the Lord. And my husband is actually the music director at St. Dominic's.
Yes.
So we're both, church musicians and lunatics. But he feels very spiritually enriched by the Latin Mass. and is a great teammate with Father Brian Woodrow there. And I've just found, really through the beauty of loving priests, right? So Father Ed and Father Yuri and then Father Paul, who will also be at the workshop, he's in Levittown. These are beautiful priests who are so exemplary of Christ's love. And I think that sometimes when we think about the East, we think about Orthodox and we think about sin, 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 sin. And these are just, it was an invitation.
Mm-hmm.
And so this workshop is meant to extend that invitation to people because it's been so enriching for me and for my family. And I think I mentioned to you earlier before the interview that Father Yuri even has his congregation say the rosary before the liturgies on Saturdays. And so this is also a priest that embraces the breathing with both lungs. And so it's just that my path has been long and slow coming, but I'm here now and I'm here to stay. I love it. I'm not going to canonically change. There's no reason for me to canonically change, but I consider St. Nicholas my parish, even though St. Dom's is technically my parish. Sorry, Father Brian.
Yeah, I don't think we can emphasize enough how, I mean, we are physical and spiritual beings created in God's image, and like we're meant to absorb from our surroundings, you know, his majesty and his creation, and being able to be surrounded by beauty and art and music that is evocative of God and of the saints, I would think can only help enrich us spiritually and bring us closer to our communion with God and with the saints. So I love that there's an opportunity to learn more. I don't want to paint any Catholic Church environment in a bad light, but I do think that some of our architecture and our physical spaces that we've created, just, you know, kind of as how that has evolved over the last 25, 30, 40 years. I mean, you know, we kind of embraced some big box sort of look in our architecture. And sometimes, you know, you go into a church and go, am I in the right place? You know, if you have to ask, am I in a Catholic church? It's a little arresting. You know, where's the tabernacle? Where's, you know, am I where I'm supposed to be? So I personally love being kind of just arrested when I come inside a church building by, oh, yes, this is, you know, we are worshiping God in this space. You know, there is absolutely no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So when people walk into a Byzantine church, aside from the iconography that is ever present, what are some of the other things that might orient them to, the Catholicity or something that maybe some Roman Catholics would find familiar? Is there a tabernacle that we, you know, in the red sanctuary lamp, or is that reserved where we can't see it?
Do you want to answer that, Father?
Yes, definitely we have. So as I said, as soon as you enter the church, you then have to think about it. Where's the tabernacle? Because you will see it right in front of you. As I said, that area that's called altar, which represents heaven. There is a main table, altar, where we celebrate liturgy, and in the middle of it, we have tabernacle. So that's, if you come, that would be easy for you to, and it's in every other church. We don't have, that's a difference, I guess, between Roman church architecture and Byzantine, because we always keep tabernacle in the center of the altar.
Yeah.
We don't keep tabernacle on the side or somewhere else. Is always in the center.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like
God
that's my compass.
in the center of the
Yeah.
church. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting you say that because a lot of the churches, I think that you were alluding to, Emily, 1970s, we're looking at you, that, you know, the tabernacle was off to the side. And I find that some of those churches that I used to go to where it was to the side, they have been now since moved to the center.
That's a good point.
I feel like there's a resurgence of putting that back right in the middle, so when you can see it as soon as you walk
Right.
in.
I mean, just you shouldn't have to look for Jesus when you come into the church. He should be obvious.
Exactly, because it's like, even, you know, when we gather as a family together, where we sit when we celebrate some feast around the table. Table is the center when we gather for dinner or for lunch, for some family celebration. The same with the church. When we gather together as a church family, we gather together around this table where in the center we have God, the main reason why we come to church. So it makes totally sense to have tabernacle in the center, not on the side.
Alicia, you were talking about that there's also the rosary on Saturdays. Is that what you said? I could be wrong here, but when you mentioned that the first time, the first thing I thought about is the way that you celebrate, which is a lot of singing and repetition, is not that different than the rosary, because you're really doing this repetition to get into a holy space, and I couldn't help think, the similarity of that.
Yeah, Father mentioned you hear "Lord have mercy" over and over in the liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, which is the typical liturgy we'll be doing, and what people will experience on October 11th. And after a while, if you're not thinking about it, or if you're, it's like saying the Hail Marys. You can kind of zone out. Yep. Lord have mercy. Okay, we're saying Lord have mercy again. Okay, but when we think about the origin of Kyrie eleison and the tie to elio and oil, and how we're asking the Lord to heal something, then it makes sense. This litany of healing that takes place at least 3 times in the liturgy. There's a lot of Lord have mercies, my friends. So, but it's like a rosary. There's a lot of Hail Marys in the rosary, and it's this repetitive prayer to bring you in that meditative space.
Beautiful.
And I think we can forget sometimes that we're this tendency to want to introduce new things.
Yes.
Well, if it's new, it has to be an improvement upon what existed before. And I think it's really nice to hearken back to what do we have in these different traditions that are all in communion that we can appreciate and use to deepen our spirituality.
There is something that I still struggle with as a Roman Catholic, born and bred. And that's one of the traditions, small t traditions in the Byzantine Catholic Church, and that's this tradition of standing. So we are used to kneeling in the Roman Catholic Church, and that's the posture of prayer in the Roman Catholic Church. And when we go to Byzantine Catholic Church, there's very little kneeling. It is standing. And Father, I'm curious if you could just explain why we stand for everything in the Byzantine Catholic Church.
Well, so we stand because this body posture of standing symbolizes that, Lord, I am here for you. I am open for you to work in me.
Okay.
While in Roman, you correct me if I'm wrong, in Roman rite is about humility when we kneel before God. No?
Sure. Yes.
God help me because I'm just simple human being. Please support me, guide me. While in Byzantine tradition, Lord, here I am. I'm your warrior. I'm open for your working.
And it's there was, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Father, which I'm sure you will, that there's also a theology of how the posture of prayer in Byzantine Catholic churches in standing symbolizes the resurrection, that we are a people of the resurrection.
Oh, interesting.
And so we stand as that symbol of the resurrection. Unless I'm wrong, Father.
No, yeah. That's true. But we have too in our Byzantine tradition during Great Lent. Alicia, you mentioned to me, we do a lot of kneeling, but it's only during the Great Fast. We have special celebrations, the Canon of Saint Andrew, and it's like 3 hours of prayers with kneeling. So we do have kneeling, just not during the normal.
When you kneel, you make it count.
You make it count.
Well, okay, so now I have like a million questions, and we only have 5 minutes. So
Come to the workshop.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. I've also heard the standing. I've heard it explained one time to me, like, well, when royalty walks in, or you stand up to show respect, and that obviously would make sense to me as well.
I've heard the same.
Yeah,
Father, is that?
That's true too, because the Byzantine Rite was developed in Constantinople, and very often the royalty would attend services.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and we even have we don't have it here often in some churches. We do have in the United States, especially it's in the cathedrals. When you enter, there is a throne on your right side for the bishop, and that was in ancient times. That was actually the seat where the king would sit, or royalty who will attend the service. And yes, that's true too. That's one of the reasons what you mentioned.
Okay. All right. Now, since you opened the door to this, I'm asking this question. All right. You ready? So, when you go to a High Latin Mass, that's you're going to be there for 2 hours, and you plan that accordingly.
I was waiting for this question.
So, I wasn't going to ask it, but Father opened the doors. I'm all in now. How long is a divine liturgy in the Byzantine Rite?
It depends from the priest.
How long
Sounds like Roman Rite.
When Father Ed does it, how long is it?
So when Father Ed does it, it's about 1 hour, 1 hour and 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's not bad.
And when you do it?
But when, for example, when I'm not saying that to scare you, but when I was the pastor in Ukraine, I would start because in Ukraine we do all together Matins, liturgy, and Vespers. So on Sunday, usual Sunday, I would start at 8 a.m. and I will be out of church around noon.
Okay.
That is a commitment.
That's commitment.
That's 4 hours. But usual liturgy, it's about 1 hour.
Okay.
Normally, it's about 1 hour.
On a normal Sunday with Father Yuri, it's about 45 to 50 minutes. So he goes pretty quick.
So look, there's another similarity. Depends on who you get.
Right, exactly. And you can kind of feel the eye rolls when people walk in and go, it's Father so-and-so. We're going to be...
It's only because they preach for 5-8 minutes.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
That's true. It's the homily.
Well, Father, we have to say thank you so much for joining us, and Alicia too. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but I feel like you both have to come back and talk more, because this has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And,
it was my pleasure.
Thank you so much. And again, that workshop is on October 11th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's open to everybody. It's called Come and See, A Journey into Eastern Catholicism, and it's at the Assumption of the Virgin Mary Byzantine Catholic Church in Trenton.
Yes.
That was a lot. It's
a lot. It's a mouthful.
Oh, and registration is required, correct?
Registration is required because we are providing food.
Yes.
So if you want to eat, please register. Please register by October 9th.
What's the best website?
And the best website is the website for St. Mary Byzantine Catholic Church. Okay. It's right there on the website.
Alicia and Father, thank you both very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, everybody.
And everybody else, thank you for tuning in to Better Together, and we'll see you next time.